Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live transmission. I have today a very dear sister of mine, Indy, and we're going to talk about a very important topic, at least for us. And I do know, we know that it will resonate deep in your hearts, the ones that will be watching this later or that are joining us right now. We're going to talk about the Hydra Codex. So perhaps this is something new for some of you, but once you listen, what this is about, well, you will love it. So get yourselves prepared and welcome, Indy. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and be speaking with you about Hydra. I think me and you have this incredible way of just seeing into the depths of each other's soul signatures and divine blueprints. And it's not even something I think we barely even have to discuss, and the full template just emerges. So here we are, bringing forward Hydra, my deep soul sister from Alphard, Ashleisha, Hydrobius. Okay, those systems are primordial aquatic systems in the Hydra constellation, and I think we recognize each other from this point of origin. And I think we both hold ambassadorship within this this cosmic blueprint, this cosmic template that we have.
Yes, I agree. And this topic really goes deep into my whole existence because, as we have talked about, offline, this goes right into the origins. Like Hydra is like very few people know about this constellation, and it's the biggest one. Is along with Eridanus is one of the most ancient ones. So it holds the records for a lot that has happened, and not because the Greeks came and said, "Okay, so now we're going to name this constellation Hydra, and it's super important from this point now." No, it's actually before the Greeks. It was Egyptian, the Sumerian talk about this constellation. There are a lot of mythos regarding to this water serpent and much more that we will go through now. But overall, it's known as this water serpent monster. And as I said, one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest one, the second. And there is like this folklore of, as well as with Cetus the whale, of this monster figure coming to attack. Like for instance, I was remembering by the Egyptian, it's known as Apophis. That serpent that the solar arc, once it is transiting through the Duat, which is like the space, and heading to the Great Pyramid, then this solar arc, that you find auras, you find other galactic beings, and including Seth, who is the antagonist of the whole family, like the black sheep from the family. Uh, and then they have to unite to save the ark from sinking, from Apophis pulling it out, and them, and she impeding for them to go to the Great Pyramid.
Hmm.
So it looks like this. If you translate it literally, you will say, "Wow, it's like Apophis. Yeah, it's a mean character." However, what if we think that due to her and her presence, is that Horus and Seth, good and evil, come together, and
Hmm.
she's just as this plasmic force, as this divine feminine, like saying, yeah, yeah, like
She's
guide.
the alpha and the omega.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Well, Isis would say, I am the alpha and I am the omega. And then Jeshua would say it. I mean, the Bible says that Jeshua says that as well.
Mm.
So that's also very interesting, like she's bringing the field through the water for them to cross together into the next stage.
Oh, wow. You just tied that into so many parts of our shared and loved and adored history. And, yeah, Hydra is the most ancient star civilization. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I think when I had, I think one of my deepest aha moments was when I studied Charles C. Churchward's work. And he has books about Mu, and he talks about, he studied ancient Mu, and that there were tablets for the Muvarians. I call them the Muvarians, the predecessors before the Lemurians. And they had a tablet called the Nakal tablets. And in these tablets, they discussed a 7-headed serpent god that they worshipped, basically. And I think they equated that in some ways. They equated the Hydra to the octopus, but they also equated it to the tectonic plates and the turning of the tectonic plates, which symbolized the consumption of her own skin, right? Like the consumption of her own body, like the slewing of her own skin. And kind of like the Ouroboros, like the consuming of her own tail, and like recreating herself through herself. Like the Hydrans are parthenogenesis priestesses of creation. Like they hold the original womb and birthing Stargate records, because the Hydra incarnates were the ones that came here and actually were a part of the primordial celestial angelics that created the Stargates. I mean, Hydra was very much a part of Earth's creation. It's interesting because even if I take a step back and I just psychically tune into Hydra and I just ask Hydra, like, were you a part of like ancient galactic history prior to Earth's creation? I don't get a lot. It seems to go kind of fuzzy. But when I ask directly about Earth's creation, it's like she shows up and she's like, yeah, I was there at the beginning. I was a part of those primordial creator races that were here, and we weave together the Stargates. We weave together the race morphogenetic field. We weave together the universal tree of life. So it was from Hydra's body that Earth was able to even manifest the creation structures that were capable of seeding life here. So it's like everything from the level of like the serpent cosmology, throughout ancient history, like identifying it, coming back to that, all the way back to the biblical tales of the Garden of Eden and the serpent.
Exactly. Yeah.
It all came from her.
Yeah. This is what I was going to ask everyone. Who was told that the serpent is super evil and that you need to be scared about the serpent, and that serpent equals to, Satan, or like all these very antagonist forms of antichrist consciousness,
Yeah.
and the thing is that that's why they said it, because now that you were talking about the book of creation, let's say the Genesis, or how I say the Gen Isis, it's when they talk about the serpent, it's this primordial force, feminine, that comes and gives awareness so that they won't stay trapped in the dream spell, and they become aware that they are more than what they are told. And even this is crazy, if you go into the biology, the cerebellum is a tree of life.
Mm.
Cerebellum literally has the shape of a tree. And in that cerebellum, there is a part named the endorestiform nucleus, which represents the apple, the fruit. So that nucleus that it's in our cerebellum in the left part, it's actually serving as an inhibitor. So it keeps, an inhibitor and also an amplifier. So this is why the feminine is also capturing like a lot of the emotional body amplified. That, and along that the heart is, has its axis tilt to the left. So then everything comes more amplified. So one of the things that I have received is that you need to torsion through holographic technology, holofractal technology, geometry, restoring let's say just torsioning the imprint that was put in that fruit as something forbidden, as something bad, so that then it serves as a connection to higher realms, because we have that power, we have that capability. So now another thing about the Gen Isis, you mentioned, how this is all connected to the beginning of Earth. I couldn't agree more. Like even the word Hydra, it's a Hydra.
Hydros,
And
hydration.
And hydrogen, and now we're being called to bring in more hydrogen into our body, because, you have all these people receiving therapies of oxygen, which they're good, yet also that at long term generates other type of deficiencies. Whereas if you bring more hydrogen to your body, you're bringing more structure into your water, more coherence. Even if you go through processes of how these water machines work, they are bringing more hydrogen, protons, more electricity, which is even, like that power that a lot of people is scared of, the electricity, because they don't want to be fired up, or receive, like an electric combustion. But the thing is that the key to master that power that has been known as chaotic is actually what gives us the answer of our sovereignty.
Well, it's the freest and the truest form of the feminine, and the rawest form of the feminine. Hydra is like the rawest form, right? She is the true original blueprint of that, and all shades of the feminine, from the the Black Madonna all the way to the elation of the divine Sophia. I think Hydra herself has multiple transformations on this planet as well, because one of the things I noticed is that you have this massive Edenic template, which is very serpent related, and the transformation of going from the serpent body eventually extends into the swan, and then the swan is the bird extension of Hydra, and the neck of the swan, that's why it's so long, is because she's actually Hydra turned into this free form. So in her highest form, she's like the lowest inner earth form, belly to belly with the earth consciousness, and then to the most expanded form, which is all the way to the 144th dimensional harmonic. So I almost feel like maybe we're even existing inside Hydra's womb gates. I really think that Hydra was the original blueprint for the womb gates, the womb grids, if she was the one here creating them, and why the Anunnaki took it upon themselves to be like, this serpent god, wow, this is a really awesome outer body form here on this earth. In order for us to come here and be productive, we have to merge ourselves with that serpent body and become serpent gods, become serpent overlords, and take the Hydra genetics and capture the Hydra womb gate, shut down her gate systems, close off her energy, steal her power, and now obviously changing the entire story from the victor's perspective. Now, the Anunnaki, I don't think the Anunnaki are originally serpent gods. I think they stole the identity. And this was a part of the great seraphim angelic soul hijack that stemmed from Hydra's heritage.
Yeah.
And so the whole fall of man actually rides upon Hydra's energy, Hydra's blueprint, Hydra's codes, the conviction of the fall of this seraphim creation pillar.
Yeah.
So as soon as humanity can recognize all of that and wake up to that, and we restore those creation pillars and we restore the pathways back to source, and we, I think it was Hydra who went after all the fallen parts to save them.
Well, you know that the serpent itself, the way that whether if it's water serpent or earth serpent, what they are doing is that they are weaving. Wherever they pass through, they are weaving ley lines, they are weaving webs. Like I see a lot of similarity with their for some of their purposes as the spider, as important as founders, as misconceived, and then as taken, reverse engineered, or genetically manipulated and turned into other type of things that is what they have been putting us out front to say, oh, this is bad. You see, you feel the energy, they are bad. Don't connect with that. Like even you said about the masculine, there is this Hydrus, which is the masculine version of Hydra in one of the constellations. The Greek put together this constellation, but as you see, the masculine is not very much connected to the serpentine energy, except if you go through Vedic groups that they have very much awareness of the Kundalini, or non-Vedic groups as well. When a man has a very deep connection with their Kundalini force, that's another case. But when they haven't tapped into their Kundalini because the serpentine force seems too overwhelming for them because of all that patriarchal indoctrination that they did regarding to serpent equal evil, then there is a seizure. There is a huge segment, abysm, between their connection, their body, and their own manifestation. Which is why also a lot of men that are not yet in the path of remembrance, they take a lot from when they have sex, and it happens both ways. But now I'm just talking about this. They take a lot of energy because they don't know how to create their own creative force, because they think that's only about women or for the women to do. But once the men start to enhance their own divine feminine energy and bringing those serpent codes into their divine masculine, then that divine communion, that alchemical marriage takes place. And another thing is that when you were talking about the seventh serpent, the seven-headed serpent, also for me, it's a huge code that it's talking about, hey, guys, this is how you unfold the cube. This is how you get out of the incubation state, which not forcefully means leaving Earth. It's more about bringing heaven on Earth, or being heaven on Earth. Because you require from 7 serpentine bodies, to multiply your serpentine body 7 times in order to unfold the cube, as the very same rainbow code. So, and another thing is that, when you start putting all of this together, you were also talking about the parthenogenesis, and many animals, reptiles, have the capability of reproducing themselves through parthenogenesis in this non-sexual form, like the gecko, just one example, and the bees as well. And these two animals are very much connected to the divine feminine. So, and again, not as the woman, yet as the energy itself, that power of harnessing the plasma to that extent that you can create whatever you want. So, this is something huge, and I would love to hear what you think about this. But let's say you were talking about shedding the skin, and these Ouroboros, they always show it in a way that it's just locked. It's just biting its tongue. That's it. So then it's a seal. But what about the motion when the serpent continues devouring itself? Then it creates a tesseract. The very same
Mm.
that the serpent is doing by devouring itself is the motion of the tesseract imploding and exploding. And one of the species that have the highest technology of interdimensional travel are the serpents. Due to that capability, it's in their own DNA, it's in their geometrical template. So my question is, and whatever you want to say, of course, but there is the connection that I read, that I remember, between aquatic beings and serpent beings. Like the reptiles, it's their primordial form as are so important because even their skin is different. It's the same. It's very similar. Fishes from serpents or reptiles that live under the water. So, what do you think about that process?
That's why I love talking to you, because it's like we can go in so many multidimensional directions. The Tesseract thing really rings a bell with me right now, because you're making me feel like, and we know this is to be true, everything is essentially mimicked from Hydra's quantum creation capacities and technology and architectural geoengineering. I mean, because you think about these natural geometries of creation that I just talked about a minute ago, the stargates, the womb grids, the womb gates, the race morphogenetic field, the universal tree of life. But then you do have an organic tesseract. And I seen this when I went to go visit the Guardian Stargate in Kauai, Hawaii. I kept seeing what looked like an organic cube. And I'm thinking, cube's not like a natural shape in nature, is it? Is this not, but it was like a jelly and plasma, like a jelly plasma. And so, it could bend, it could breathe. And it seemed to be the dynamic architecture that was at the core of that 144 dimensional functioning gate system, which had everything to do with the reincarnation on this planet, souls entering and exiting the recycling systems. I seen that it wasn't just about souls going up into the heavenly realms, that like we all have to shed our body and our souls and our spirit. And a lot of this we get from the earth first. And so we think that it's just about going up and having this holy matrimony with the divine father first, but no, it's you shed the body and you go back in through the earth gate systems. And I think you enter this organic tesseract, and those cleansing and purification systems and angelic distribution happens from there. But I think that the black cube structure from the Saturn moon matrix, which is another hijack of our organic grandmother, another form of the earth, the prototype of earth, the Taran earth that they've also hijacked and harvested for earth birthing domination on this planet, and for the force breeder programs, and for the wars that all these negative ETs like to do over the moon, and all the Kalantic symbol hijacking that they do. But that they've rerouted these systems through the moon and through the Saturn, and they've placed a replica of that tesseract, which is the black cube matrix that hooks into the spike matrix inside the planet, which is what controls the black hole wormhole command centers, right? We talked about that 12 black hole vortice map. We were both like, and I also thankful you sent me that map. Thank you for sending me that map. Like, yeah, I've already given you shout outs in a couple of my videos. Hopefully everyone leaves a comment. Yeah, YssaH's the best. Like we're sending information on the back end, and it's an amazing connection to have, because we're kind of tuning into the same things and seeing the same connections. And I think on some level, we're trying to decode that matrix. So for one, we can get a handle of it within the dream fields, so we can help shift things away from the artificial and plug us back into the organic systems and back to the way life should be. because I think with all these structures and all these overlay systems, they're diverting us away from the true mother consciousness. That's really what it is. And, you know, pulling us out of the lunar time matrix, the 13-dimensional time matrix, so that way we aren't able to, you know, function correctly in time. And then that completely hijacks our reproductive system. That completely hijacks our hormonal system, which is all Hydra embedded, right? Because it's the original birthing technology. So it puts a lot of distortion over how we utilize the stargates here and how we bring souls in, and the entrapment of higher dimensional souls being able to incarnate on this planet. You know, with the freedom of the mother of the Hydra system and the Hydra consciousness, we would be able to actually shift back into a matriarchal earth, an oracle earth, an earth that follows the oracle's transmissions, right? That would be like the true highest guidance. And we would fall back into the natural cycles and the natural rhythms. But right now we're completely out of order because of really going back to Hydra and how it's just been systematically corrupted and suppressed for over 6,000 years and fragmented for the last 2,000 years. So I've been seeing like this massive wave of guardian contact that's been emerging. Hydra's reemergence into the collective consciousness is absolutely necessary for us to reclaim this planet. Like it's so deep.
It's so deep. Like, talking again, you know, matriarchy, patriarchy, you know, it's like you go to very specific religions, which for me, the other day I was tapping into. I don't have anything against religions. I just want to be super clear. I respect everything. I do believe that the codes and the information that they share, they are very rich in information. The way that the institutions have held them, that's a different thing. So, for instance, if you see all the patterns, all the religions talk about the same God. The same God. Kabbalah, Kaaba, the cube in Mecca, Kabbalah, the cube of God. And I could go on and on and on and on and on, because this is, you know, this
well, we're worshiping the artificial God, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Just let's say a being that put himself in front of, you know, just because. And the thing is that even, you know, like they use a lot the serpent. Like, even though some religions condemn it, they also use it a lot, you know. And even the moon, like we talked about this last show. Now, for instance, the cube, the original cube, the one that has been known at least after the youngest Dryas, was located in Petra in Jordan. That was the original location of the Kaaba. Because if you track where there is in every Mecca, there is a location that is known as the Qibla, and the Qibla is meant to face to the Mecca. I mean the Kaaba, the mosque. Every mosque has like the reproduction of not the reproduction of the Kaaba, has a Qibla, and the Qibla is meant to face, you know, toward Mecca, you know, like the big cathedral, to say it somehow. Which is not. I know that it's not like the cathedral, but you know what I mean, like the epicenter of all the mosques. So now, all of them put together, if you draw the line where they are facing to, no one leads to Saudi Arabia, where the actual Mecca is. Where they are heading to is to Petra in Jordan. And in that time, there were 3 goddesses that were not worshipped at all. They were known as geometries, as etheric forms, very much connected to different levels of plasma. And one of them was known as Manat, and Manat was connected to the moon. And the cube there was very much, yes, as dedicated for other gods, but mainly for Manat. So now there is another goddess that is barely spoken of, which is the consort of Kronos, whose name is Rhea. So if you say, because I mean, perhaps someone listens to this and they might say, oh, so now everything is about the divine feminine, you know? So,
Mhm.
first of all, again, as I always say, divine feminine is different as women. So the divine feminine is present in all of us. It's just a part of our own vessel that was left behind and that was not even spoke of as the ether, as the connection of the ether. You know, I was asking the other day my daughter, so what are the elements? And she was fire, air, water, earth, and plasma and ether. But because you have told me, because they didn't teach me that. And I was like, yeah, sure. You know, like they vanquished it from the awareness of humanity. Once you're aware of that, once you acknowledge the existence of something, you make it real. So now, this Rea, if you say, okay, why feminine and time? You were mentioning about the periods, you know, the bleeding in the women.
Mhm.
If men had different, like also cycles within the production of their own plasma through the sperm, the vessel, the biological vessel is different. The women does have a cyclic generation of this type of plasma, which is the highest one in structured water. Speaking of hydronium, hydronium plasma in the water, which is not fully plasma, but it's like the most coherent state as plasma is. And so now that's why the connection of time with the feminine energy, because the feminine energy works through those cycles. You know, even the feminine energy is more about let things rest, let things happen, like the very same seeds. You know, it's not about forcing, I want it now. You know, imagine having being pregnant 4 months, I want you to be born now. What is the baby going to say? Well, don't hold your breath. You know, it's like I have a process of creation, you know, so that's very much connected.
Mhm.
It's the time, it's returning to the cosmic time, not the time that comes from here, the time that comes from here.
Yes, 100%. I really align with that. It's all about coming back to the natural, organic, original way. I mean, it's it, I think, well, I think I told you this, but when I started first connecting with Hydra's frequency, initially I did connect with the serpent consciousness. And I only seen Hydra as a serpent for a very long time. And then I realized, the history of the serpent also connects into the history of the dragon. They're actually hand in hand, and in a way, they're one and the same, but they also do tell the tale of that hybridization that seems to be continuing to be strung throughout our ancient history as well, like the mermaids and the serpent maids, like, because they're like, when you said the serpent, some of this is in the waters, it's like, yeah, this is also, there's also mer people that have serpent tails. They're not just fish, half fish. And it was the fish people because Earth used to be a primordial water planet. There was no land. So everything came from the sea. All the knowledge came from the sea to the land. So all the civilization with the mer people was there first. And so they had the hybrid serpent, but then they also had the hybrid serpent dragons. I mean, this whole tale of this coming from the water, I mean, I think this is actually pretty correct, because if you look at the dragon Mu Lemurian ley lines and where they ride along that southern the 33 south up to the whole Tonga, Okinawa, Japan access points over to the Polynesian Triangle, I mean, that is the Mu corridors. Those are the main dragon lines on the planet. And that's where you see a lot of these serpent mer people hybrids and the Yonaguni mer dragon people and things like this. That's where they kind of exist in the oceans and the water. So I started to see that transformation of the serpent and then into the dragon and then into the full dragon form. So I think because I mean, I said there's multiple prophecies of Hydra. I think there's another prophecy that will also equate to the return of the dragon consciousness and the repairing of the backbone of the dragon and the Albion spine, and again the reparation of the organic dragon consciousness, which is ultimately like solar consciousness. It is solar logos, Sophia, Christos consciousness. And that's really, you know, where I think many of us are starting to recognize as we tune more into these spirits that are coming forward, constantly emerging themselves to show us again and again that we might have these overlays of all of these black cubes and artificial matrices and distorted time systems we have to live inside of, and reincarnation, matrix harvesting, and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, it goes back to, you know, what is ultimately whole and true within that? What is actually organic? What is actually the actual way of existence, right? So we're coming back to that.
Yeah.
And they're safeguarding the spiritual architectures. I think the dragon lines. So the dragon lines, there's many different lines. You have the El Array dragon queens, you have the Venusian dragon queens, you have the Lemurian dragon queens. Like there's all these like different dragon like groups. There's all these different dragon profiles. But I think that they're somehow cousins that have they've emerged from the Hydra's consciousness, but that they are the true creation of Hydra on Earth embodied. They're because when I tune into Hydra, I don't get the dragon so much in the Hydra system per se. I get more of the serpent, aquatic beings, things like this, but that the full dragon was the manifestation here on Earth with serpent merging with Earth spirit becoming dragon.
Yeah, exactly. And there are even proofs of that here on Earth. If you go to Wadi El Jitan in Egypt, you will see the first form of whale that they called it the Basilosaurus YssaH, and it's a dragon. It's a dragon. You know, you see the fossil, you see the full skeleton, and it's a dragon. So for me, there is a huge connection between snakes, dragons, and whales. You know, if you try to think about it in a very, like rational form, you will say, okay, I'll give you something. Hybrids, that's evolution from a serpent to a dragon is very much organic, because we know there were other type of reptiles here, and there a lot of reptiles evolved. So we know that within a planet, when you bring in a lot of types of systems, like even, like how was all life created, all forms of life created? As you were saying, it was the soup of water. Crystalline waters. This is why one of the reasons why Earth is so important for many species, because it's one of the biggest planets that can serve as a whole sphere of records, due to all the amount of information that can be stored here on Earth. So, and even though the amount of water is not the same at the surface, we still hold a lot of water in the inner core. And by accessing, for instance, when we see the monster of Loch Ness Lake, is that? Yeah. Okay. So when you see all of those, how many of these beings are still residing in type of abysms and other type of giant beings, and that they are holding, very specific, let's say, nexuses that are interwoven throughout Earth, and they are funneling primordial codes for the ones that are already tapping into their signal, because they are very much telepathic. So now I just wanted to say, because I think I didn't mention this, when we talk about that the hijacked technology of the cube, you would say, well, what was the cube for then? Special. And I love what you said about tapping into an organic form of cube, because everything expresses at all scales. So
can you repeat what you said? You said that it was Hydra that created the Tesseract, like the geometry of it.
Well, no, the tesseract. Yeah, like the serpent itself. Like if you go to internet right now and you put tesseract GIF, to see the pattern that it creates when it is imploding and exploding, when it is spinning, you will see that it's a serpent eating its tail, just coming back and forward, coming back and forward. So it's a pattern, and the serpents do that. Why? Just ask yourselves, how could the serpent not be so important if it's the fundamental pattern of every wave? That's how sacred it is. If you diminish it, if you ban it from your existence, it's like you're banning your connection to emit your own longitudinal waves, synodal waves, and so forth, because you are condemning part of you, or you're rejecting the motion itself, because this is how this overlay is configured. You reject a part of it, okay, you cannot you cannot let's say create through that. You need to acknowledge something as part of your existence so that then you can have a saying in its construction. So about the cube, why it's so, it's in every pattern as well of life. It's very much related to the Metatrons cube, which I know that has like cross side emotions. Again, for me, information is information, just how you use it. Metatrons cube itself, you can remove the name, you can do whatever you want, but it's even the pattern of an atom. When you do like when you see it through a spectroscope, you will see the pattern of Metatrons cube. That's one thing. Another thing is the cube of light. This is how I call it, that all these divine feminine consciousnesses brought forward here on Earth, their purpose, of course, evolved, but mainly they are harnessing plasma. So as in Earth, organically, you have specific points on Earth that are creating anomalies. Those anomalies is because they are high in plasma fields. So now, okay, let's reverse engineer that. Let's create cubic constructions, compress them holofractally, zoom. Now we are harnessing plasma from everyone. Imagine a whole tribe around, and consciously and from their sovereign state, emitting from their plasma field to harness a point. And then whoever later on would tap into that plasma, whether it could be derived for different purposes, like enhancing the use of stargates, because they work through plasma. So let's say power engines, like as you see the black boxes in Egypt, that they were power engines, full of plasma. So this is and later on for initiations, when it comes to, different known goddesses, which there were, goddesses is a beautiful word, yet it's just different versions of ourselves. So now these cubes were used in structures as temples, very few ones, and the person that would come would receive the amount of plasma necessary not to only reactivate all of their psionics, yet thus to activate the rainbow body, because then you're receiving the specific amount of plasma that you require to be rebirthed. So by the time that you would go out of the cube, you would be unfolding the cube, you would be rebirthed, you would be crucified for that moment inside of the cube, until you would go through the transfiguration process of enlightening your body.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's what would be happening in the natural cube, the organic cube, the not the mimic one that's entrapping souls. That's what's happening in that beautiful jelly plasma tesseract cube. That is I think it's the base structure for creation. I think everything formed from that first, actually. Yeah.
I agree. Hey, there is a question here if you want to address to it.
May I kindly ask, are the waters of Earth going to be gifted with the Ashlesha waters? Well, I believe that they already were. I believe that the waters that are here on Earth are the Ashlesha waters, and the waters that are in the Mintaka star system are also the waters from Ashlesha. Because I think this had to do with the Galactic Wars, the Lyran Wars, the Orion Wars, as these things were occurring and apocalyptic doom and gloom was happening in these other galactic sectors, that Hydra had gifts left to give into some of these places and to sustain and protect these worlds with those waters, because I think the waters from Ashlesha are the highest form of protection. They're very well, because it has the spirit of the primordial essence of Hydra within those waters, and because that's where they came from. How that system works aquatically, I feel like we need to do a remote view on that. Like, I think me and you, YssaH, like, we need to like sit here and, you know, channel the water worlds of Ashlesha and bring as much information forward, because even just kind of connecting in with it, I'm seeing like watery moon systems, almost like they have a rainbow water belt, like through one of their planetary systems, and that the core itself is some form of a plasma portal. Like, you know how our core goes? Well, we've translated and assumed that it's plugging into a black hole system on some dimension of Earth, but that's not. It can't really be the full totality. But their core, I'm seeing, would be like a plasma portal matrix that would be leading to some other Hydran super universe, super multi universe. Because most of the star systems that are around us, they are also fragments of greater multiverses beyond this sector of the galaxy. Just like Arcturus. Arcturus goes back to like a Boot supercluster in the Laniakea system. So I think that there is a Hydros multiverse, but these are all galactic time records that, you know, we would have to. Well, first, I think we need to access the Ishtar dome records in Venus. I think they're going to have a lot of the creation records of Hydra in those. These are all channeling sessions to like mark off the to-do list, you know, to kind of like access these files and see what's going on there, because we know that Earth was split from the cell of Venus, that Venus and Earth were once one cell. And so Hydra has something to do with also the birth of Venus as well. And our 144 dimensional body, because Venus holds the other half of those dimensions. So we hold 72. Venus holds 72. And we share crystal intelligence and future and past, and then like a sister twin, like a twin ship. So there's a lot with that. But in terms of the origin of the primordial waters, this is something, YssaH, I feel like you would be connected to this on some level.
Well, what I was receiving right now while you were talking is that, for instance, like the purpose, even when we get, because we also go through Mary Magdalene, you know, and the Marys. So when you talk about the moons, you talk about celestial bodies that are orbiting around the planet. And that's what mainly electrons do. So Mary Magdalene, let's say if we put a cross, you know, like an X, which is also very much related to the square. We get an X, and you count the edges of the X, there are 12, like the 12 apostles of Joshua. And then you get the 13, which is him, it's the unity. And then you get Mary Magdalene, which some people say that she was part of the 12. Let's take like let's not take into consideration that now, because this is more about the role in each one of them. So you would take Mary Magdalene, which is that electron, that negative force that it's spinning around and that it's shaping, as that vessel, as that womb, that it's shaping the field for the X to be. So now that's very similar to what the moons are doing, even in the Buga-sphere. And you will say, why do they have so many moons in every, like mainly in the Islam? Why do they have so many moons? It's like they bow to the earth, but then again, they are very lunar. It's a lunar religion. It's a lunar calendar that they have. The Vedics, they also take into consideration the moon, the Mayans as well. It was more about the Egyptian one and the translation.
I think Islam is also Venus as well, because the Ramadan is when the crescent moon aligns with the star of Venus.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Venus was also connected to Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, the dragon. They said that he would come from Venus. So the dragon, whether if it's feminine or masculine, the dragon. So there is an exchange there of races, of codes. So bottom line, for me, what they would use these crescent moons is actually as a magnet. You see, it even has the shape of a magnet. So they use that fundamental pattern that the moon has as a crescent moon, and they are in the energy as a magnetic field using the configuration and the algorithms of the moon itself. They can do that organically or inorganically, but this is one of the reasons why moons are so important to planets. Not only because they could host lives, yet because the magnetic field, how they manipulate it without having a stronger gravity field, they are very much shaping the magnetic field around the planet. So they are serving as this purpose of shaping it. Of course, when you bring, like, when you mess with the body, with the celestial body, and then you start doing things and things and things, so then the type of configuration that you will have, it's like very much rigged, to say it somehow, but
yeah. The moons are definitely outer passageway gatekeepers as well. One of the channelings that came through was Pluto's moon, which was Hydra. And I actually seen that in that moon that they were holding the Alasia flame. There was like the magenta bioluminescent flame, and it was held inside that moon. And that was where it was safeguarded in the outer passages of our solar system and our gateway, that Alasia spiral is protecting, which is the Sophia flame that is, cycling through the outer rocks and rings of Pluto. So that's interesting. I feel like the consciousness extends within each moon, because I think, there's a communication system between all of them, and they all kind of have like roles that they keep. Some of them do attain guardianship, just like spirits here on Earth, the dragons on Earth, the serpents on Earth. And it's like a radial plasma network where it's all communicating.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes, I agree. Well, now speaking about the moons and so forth, while moving a little bit, because we were talking about, the genetics and how some species evolve and so forth. And I was telling you, like about the same type of skin, or a similar one, that actually is showing a lot of geometrical patterns. If you see the skin of a snake, the skin of a fish, they are lattices. So these lattices are showing, are reinforcing the very same construction or holofractal construction at a quantum level from the water. So let's remember that water is the bridge between the quantum and the matter. This is scientifically proved that it's the bridge. Why? Due to the level of coherence that it can represent. Even if you see the water at the reflection, it's reflecting the stars. So you can even go into a state of projecting your consciousness through the water into the stars, because according to the holofractal field, there is no difference. you're just seeing the stars in front of you. This is how many of the oracles were used. They would use water when there was like not the embodied oracle, when they were trying to do oracles with vessels and so forth, they would use water. Why? Because you go through the quantum field, through the water into the quantum field, project your consciousness and access wherever you want without the need of being here, because then you're using the water as a superconductor element. Because again, the people that would do that would already have the training of raising their own plasma field, their own molecular structure of water as a liquid crystalline lattice. So it would be one superconductor, let's say a unified consciousness, traveling here and there. Different forms of tapping into the oracle when it was not embodied. Yet, now about the mermaids and the water. And because you said something that I loved, that is that there are serpent mermaids, like not fishtail, but the tail of a serpent. Here, where I currently live, let's say where I grew up, there is La Tlanchana, which is a mermaid that no one sees the tail. And they would only say, oh, yeah, it's a mermaid that would devour the man. And then they created a contract so that she wouldn't keep, devouring the men.
Well, that's the curse of Hydra, isn't it? It's always that the feminine is some form of an abomination to be demonized and monstrosized and rejected from society and not trusted, basically seen as evil. Like everything that is Hydra, the face of evil gets slapped onto it. And I mean, the same is happening to the mermaids. I mean, people are telling me that the mermaids are the fallen angels. People are telling me that the mermaids are the Nephilim that got banished to the sea. People are telling me that, that they're diabolical, they're evil, they eat the sailors, they seduce the sailors. I mean, I've talked to the mermaids and they laugh at these stories. I mean, especially the Mediterranean siren houses. I mean, they just think it's hysterical that these humans even think that they want them in the first place, So, I mean, and they don't laugh about it in a cruel way, just in a way that they think it's funny that humans fear them so much, when most of the time they're just trying to help them. Sometimes they help souls when they're getting in shipwreck. Like if someone's drowning, like they help the drowning souls. Like they help with a lot of the death passageways through the waters. They'll help with rerouting ships and things like this when they're going through like fair weather waters and storms, like, or if they just don't want people sailing through their civilizations, and they have every right to safeguard their communities and things like this. So they get a really bad rap, but they're the ones that are keeping the Leviathans at bay, down in the trenches, and the really evil monsters that are down there in the deep, 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 that are like the super diabolical things. I think that the mermaids are protecting us, especially those abyssal mermaids. They're the ones that are trying to take care of us and make sure that the mermaids want to form an aquatic guardianship and relationship with the humans on the surface, those that are able to spiritually and psychically connect with them. And if you can psychically connect with them, they're going to open up your psychic abilities because of everything YssaH's saying with the water reflection and the plasma and the universe and the stars and the oracle and the rituals coming through the water. All of our knowledge and all of our memory is hidden in the water. It's not really hidden, it's accessible to us, but we've been so disconnected from it that we're not able to truly open up our dream oracle to access those records. But the more that you work with the mermaids, you're going to, I've been hearing from people ever since I put that 12 lineage mermaid video out that everybody's getting contacted in the dream space by the mermaids, because and they really open that up. I mean, it's so fluid. It's so just, I can't even begin to tell you that there's a whole world under the waters that we're just not getting much access to. The Lemurian sea temples, the Atlantean sea temples, all of our Atlantean history and the wreckage body of Atlantis on the Atlantic basin. All of that we need to decode that. We need to discover what's there. We need to assess the damage of the wreckage body. We need to assess the damage of the nuclear radiation on the seafloor. We need to assess the damage of all the crystal spires that are underneath there. We need to understand the depth of how the secret space program vessels are going through the waters and the Draco passageways and the Anunnaki passageways, how they're using the sea waters to do a lot of their international cloning operations and their off-planet human trafficking to other worldly systems in the trenches and the megacities and their portals, where they're trafficking people. The Greys are trafficking people from the boats and things like this. And so, I mean, the Mer people are trying to warn us about this stuff because they've been doing it to the Mer people all this time. The Mer people have been the ones who've been hunted and subjugated. And I'm here to defend the Mer people.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing, it's like as below, as above, as below, as within, as without. If you see, okay, so we need to go deep within in order to remember who we are. So why don't we do that going to inner earth? Why do we keep on just looking at the surface? Like we talk about going beyond the overlay, but it's like, oh, but this is so cool because this is what takes more of my attention. No, like even when it comes to seeing spaceships in the sky, that's awesome. Yet I choose to keep it equivalently to connecting to beings on inner earth, because those are the ones that have been holding the space for us for a long time. Those ones that have been buying backstage, most of them, of course, they're all type of beings, but talking about plasma beings, talking about mermaids, talking about all these founders that are holding the space by drawing all these mappings, making all these geometrical mappings that keep on holding the space for us to remember. Why? Because the deeper you go, the purest the codes are. So they're just creating nexuses, interfaces, bringing in their codes or the codes of the planet itself for us to remember, and you might say, so, but if here is the point of origin, deep inner earth, where is the point B? Where is the mouth? Well, vortexes, there are vortexes everywhere, but places with high levels of vortexes, they are bringing all those codes. This is somehow one of the reasons why people, when they go through them, is like, oh, okay, this is super, like heavy for them. I don't know. Most people that I have heard, they say that the vortex energy can be very challenging. Yes, because if they don't become the vortex, and if they just keep on the surface, which is their own information, whether their own light or their own shadow. Yet if you go deep, if you pass the event horizon all the way deep in, then you will start accessing to the codes and places with also red mountains, places where all these Atlantean, Lemurian constructions were these places that now they are boiling, even Hawaii and so forth. Those are the ones that are, some of them funneling like all these codes for us to remember. And some of them, they're even back and forward with other reverse engineered technologies like the spectral spheres, or even some types of plasmoids that are on the surface, bringing in codes for us to receive from above and from below, bring them together within. And for me, I don't know what you think about this. For me, one of the major codes is to bring them through the singularity, which is embodying them. Because when you don't embody the information, then it just sleeps your mind, and then it's like, what was I tapping into? But when you embody them from a neutral point, from the void, from the wholeness, then you're capable to be that ambassador, because they are not domaining you. You're just being pure emissor and receptor of those codes. And I think this is very much related to what these divine feminine codes from Hydra and so forth are telling us, because those codes have been so haunted. That was what has happened, collectively speaking. We reached thankfully, the other side, which was, okay, so now you won't touch me, like after all that oppression, is like now, like the divine feminine is saying, now you won't touch me, which is part of the whole process. So now, one of the things that I have been receiving in huge information is embodying that singularity represents embodying the highest state of magnetic field. And for that to happen, it's super important to transcend your fear to your power, because then that will lead to the electric force, which is expanding. But how many times have the divine feminine being scared of their magnetic force? Oh no, you're putting yourself too out there, or oh no, you be careful, due to many reasons. But the thing is that for us to embrace the power of our magnetic field is our capability to bring back to the core all the information and ordering it, so that then we can expand through all these codes. What do you think about that?
Can I speak to Cosmic Voice 33 and his most recent comment about?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
but
yeah. I would just like to say, if it sounds like word salad, it's just because you probably haven't integrated the vocabulary. We're speaking with a lot of New Earth lexicon and a lot of, ascended knowledge. And these words are necessary to kind of transcend to the next level. So if it sounds foreign, you probably just need to integrate the vocabulary, and it will actually expand your consciousness. And this is really, we talk like this because this is how we're guided to speak, to expand people's consciousness field and transcend. And really, when we get to the New Earth, we're all going to be talking like this. Actually, we won't be talking at all. We'll just be telepathically transmitting with one another and creating through telekinesis. So, but it's necessary. This is a stepping stone. The word salad is a stepping stone. So if it resonates with you on a subtle level, you should just go according to like how it makes you feel, if it feels right. And if it feels right, then eventually the words will just start to upgrade in your consciousness. So
yeah. Well, when you have this type of comments that are, I don't even put attention to them, to be honest, because I see that they are even repeated. It's like it's the same. There is no thinking about the way. It's like just repeating like a program. Pam pam.
yeah.
But like deep into the core, it's even we are talking about, which is how challenging when you're afraid of something, when you feel challenged, then you attack. If you don't need to attack, then you just, move on to the next channel or whatever, but if it gets you and you try to, to attack without, then it's just the program hijacking that person. That's how I feel.
Yeah. Sometimes I address things like that because sometimes people just need a little bit of direction. I honestly think some people compare their consciousness to it and then they take it as a defense, like, oh, well, I'm not understanding this, so I'm offended by it. Versus, oh, I'm not understanding this, so let me learn about it. And I think, sometimes just saying those things can help. I mean, that's in my book, Volume 1 and Volume 2. I have like a whole New Earth lexicon glossary for people so that they can go in and learn the words. So that way it makes sense to them. And then as they plug those words in, like a whole new world opens up to them. And it's kind of exciting. So.
Yes, yeah. It is, and it's part of it. I think that everyone is doing the best that they can based on what they have at this moment. And where we are heading to, like, look where we come from, Indy. Look truly where we come from, and where we are delivering this message is like we have been through so many things, and I'm not like, I'm sure that everyone here has been going through things. This is why each one speaks what they speak, because what they speak is talking more about them than about the information itself. So I know that you're speaking from a space of a lot of love. I know that I'm speaking from a space of a lot of love, and I think that's the goal. To we're getting it right this time, because we're coming into unity. We are now focusing with who we have resonance with, and we're becoming stronger than ever. And mostly we have something, which is the whole bunch of experiences, knowledge, and wisdom that perhaps at some point, it was all beautiful, and we hadn't experienced ourselves through so many layers. So I don't know. I just
Yeah. Well, I mean, see, this is where I go back and forth with the divine masculine feminine thing. Is, it's like, okay, I get that the masculine does have this feminine part of themselves to embrace. Now, either the masculine right now isn't actually fully embracing their feminine, or they're just, resorting to that masculine wounded body essentially still, and like repeating that over and over again. Because if they really were switching into their feminine body, I think we would be a little bit more of a place of understanding and compassion of where the trajectory of the timelines are ultimately going, and the progression of those processes that are necessary to get us to these levels of the timelines that are expanded beyond the artificial matrix and all of the distorted matrix, essentially. So what I mean by that is we require our feminine consciousness to be able to embrace higher levels of telepathy, empathy, telekinesis, for actually to get to that level that we communicate on that basis. Everyone, man or woman, will have had to been able to have a full crash course of their feminine consciousness, right? Like the insides of it, the outsides of it, the teachings of it, the wisdom of it, all of it, right? Fully embrace it.
Yeah.
The fact that so many people are blocked within those abilities should tell us that people are not really embracing the feminine to its fullest ability.
Yeah. Yeah. Which leads me to a very interesting question.
But then that brings us back to Hydra. This is Hydra. With Hydra's emergence, the entirety of the femininity can finally come out from hiding, because Hydra is holding on to every aspect of the demonized feminine's body, all of the pain, all of the suffering, all of the banishment, all of the abolishment, all the monstrousness, all of the evil that has been casted onto her inadvertently and crucibly through crucifixion. The deepest persecution feminine wound that is carried is in the Hydra genetic markings within the feminine soul complex. Like, it's the Mary Magdalene is the representation of that. The Mary Magdalene feast day, which is July 22nd, which is representative of Mary Magdalene's birthday, falls in the Hydra system, July 22nd. And so her consciousness, I do believe, is a direct incarnation from that system. So, and we look at Mary Magdalene, like, she wasn't even allowed to be recognized for even truly who and what she was. She was casted away as like a prostitute and something else. The seven sins of Mary Magdalene, all the dark stuff.
I know.
I know, but the Mary Magdalene laundries where they casted away the babies, and they literally, they would throw hundreds of babies into septic tanks.
Yes. Yes.
And this leads into the crucifixion of the forced breeder programs. I think as women, we have every right to be pretty pissed off at how the divine feminine's been treated. And this is my problem with it. I'll tell you my whole qualm with it. I love everybody at the end of the day, but I'm allowed to have the things that piss me off. You know what I mean? Or get me going, or things that they're getting me going for a reason. It's because I'm here to defeat the darkness around these things, right? And that's what pushes me forward, like the fire, like the fuel that I have, all of that. Like, it's all like a part of my expression to overcome these things.
And it's beautiful, and I love you. This is one of the reasons why I love you.
I don't think as women we should just sit back anymore and just be like, oh, pour this, pour that, and pour masculine. No, get your stuff together, do the work, embody that feminine energy. If you can't do it, then submit to the oracle, submit to her, because we are the true leaders. Actually, we are the true spiritual leaders on the planet. We actually carry the womb stargate that is active and alive and is living in our bodies. And it's a real living quantum source stargate portal where we birth life, we bring life into this world. And we have the closest connection to God because of that. You look at like the whole, and this is when you were talking earlier, the whole transgender movement that comes in and all of that stuff. It's like, that is the curse of feminism. That is feminism created transgenderism. She's saying, guess what? If you don't respect life on this earth, we are going to turn your children into something that you cannot even understand or recognize the reflection of that. And this is what your children will become. Because if you look at all of the reasons of why these children are becoming, is because there's usually a feminist mother. There's usually a mother in there that is like convincing her child that they're of the opposite sex. And they're like, falling into this whole medical tyranny system, taking them into these doctors, getting their genitals chopped off or sterilized or turned inside out, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But this is the result of not respecting life, because that's what the dark feminine will do if she is held within states of destruction for prolonged periods of the time. She will destroy. And I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, which brings me to a super important point. Everything that we have said, that you have said, super important. I know that there are a lot of people here passionate about the topic. Thank you so much for your comments. Now, I want to say, I call it the black hole technology. The black hole technology is like this Kali energy, being capable to master it, become the black hole, not being, sucked by the black hole, or not having like this black hole hose, and not being able to you're directing it.
I feel like the black hole hose sometimes.
No,
watch out, you guys are about to get a black hole shower. Okay.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know. But like this black hole technology is like you transforming the emotions. And I think that everything that has happened is for a sacred purpose. The important thing for us to be aware of it and do something differently is, like now how you just mentioned it, because it is. And actually, I would also add that is the continuous insatisfaction of who you are. It's like wanting to change people trying to change themselves in order to please others, which is very much that wound, because comes from the fear of survival. And that's very much attached to the divine feminine energy. Because imagine that you were erased from the story, or erased by many, like
erased by who, though? Let's be real. Let's be real. Who erased us?
Yes, like just one example. Yahweh had a partner. Her name was Asherat. Like the god that they talk about had a wife. And the wife's name was Asherat. If you do the gematria of Asherat, is the same numerical value that pentagrammaton, which is the quintessence, which is plasma. So everything leads to the fact that they remove the divine feminine, not because it's a woman. Forget that. It's because it represents the power of manifestation. And what is the power of manifestation? Sovereignty, bottom line. And most people do feel, or not most people, some people do feel very comfortable being guided by someone else. And that is the talk that led to the extreme. That's the toxic masculine, saying everything what to do. And let's say the feminine, the toxic feminine, destroyed everything, because instead of giving birth, it's destroying. So every aspect is needed. Just owning it, embodying it, allows us to be free of it, you know. And I know that we are doing something beautiful, and I want to honor what you're doing, Indy, because that energy that you show, it's very much used, that it's very much needed. And as well as, you know, the energy that I deliver and the energy that other women are delivering, everything makes a whole. And for me, the most important right now is for us to remain together, because yeah, it's like the perfect orchestration, the perfect
Yeah,
symphony.
yeah. I'm like the hot fire. I'm like the hot dragon fire. You're like the ocean plasma fire, like cooling and like. Oh my gosh! I'm like the head of the dragon, and you're like the serpent body. Oh my gosh!
I can't wait for us to go on a trip, you know, and doing activations. That's going to be huge. That's going to be huge.
Yes, yes. And today's August 15th, so we're gonna have to have a chit chat maybe, but when we get done here. But yeah.
Yes.
Well, the one thing I wanted to mention, and this is just throwing it back to where we were, but the closer you get to that artificial cube, okay, the closer you get to Mecca, the closer you get to Petra, the closer you get to the black cube anomalies that are literally stained into the imprints of the consciousness of the land, that are operating like old Atlantean trons, okay, that are funneling reversal patterning into the artificial cube inside of the planet, because that's what they're doing, like these rituals where they're rotating around the cube, okay? Mm-hmm. They're homo circles, okay? Most of it is like 90% gay men in there, okay? A lot of them are like, I've even seen the distortions of them having you-know-what around the cube itself. I mean, not a lot of women are getting in there. And if they do, they're probably getting you-know-what at the core, the closer they get to that thing. The point I'm trying to make is the closer you get to the cube, the more you enter into force breeder human territories. The SS-10 type territories where the women are underneath the black bag, okay? They're not allowed to see the sunlight. They're forced to crank out 8 to 10 children and sacrifice a lot of those children to war. So the closer you get to the cube, the cruelty towards the divine feminine increases. And that's one of the things that I know that's a part of my destiny, to like speak awareness into that and keep. I mean, that's a part of the Hydra right there. If you want to know what the Hydra is here to do, she's here to protect the women on the earth, the divine feminine on the earth. Her emergence of her consciousness is here to return, to restore order to that, where the injustices lie, where the imbalances lie, where, withholding and withdrawing the serpent consciousness and the dragon consciousness from humanity has begun not to serve anybody any good. And so it's like, we must return. Yeah, maybe some of the wrathful parts, but again, there is a prophecy of transcendence of Hydra, like that goes from that turns into the actual full, 144 dimensional new earth timeline, like the swan, like the whole swan represents that. Like Hydra she goes from the serpent to the swan, and she goes from the fallen seraphim record to the reclaimed seraphim creation pillar being restored. Yeah. And that I think that's a part of the whole Hydra reclamation, that it's the backbone in which everything exists off of, like everything within everything that we're seeing play out, all prophecy, even all biblical and revelational scriptures.
Yeah. Now that you were talking about this, I was tapping into where does the core of the wound between men having all this anger towards women reside. So, and I'm not general, like not all men, of course, but some, let's put it that way. And I was saying it's like castration, because it's all about energy, power. So, and there was a point that I really wanted to to
Well, I
convey.
think you're on point with the castration, because I think this goes back to sexual subjugation, and I think the men were actually the first abused under sexual subjugation through castration, through circumcision.
Yeah. Yeah, but there is also another point that I want to talk about, and it's the process in which, when the human template was created, the Adam Kadmon, we know that there are different theories, names, so called, and so forth. So for me, the way that I see it is it came into, let's say, the seven Hathors, which are very much connected to the crystalline DNA transferring from the Hydra consciousness, this crystalline DNA. This is why the serpent hoods would be very much about the serpent and so forth, because they were keeping those templates. And also there was other type of genetic manipulation, which is very much connected to the one called as the Anunnaki, capping of the telomeres, shrinking the chromosome, and so forth, and what we see in the Bible as the 24 reefs. So now there is a point where one of the women that was helping at that time the Anunnaki, known as YssaH, she was also a genetist. Yet there is a point of transition. She was known as the Lady of the Mountain. Hathor is also known as the Lady of the Mountain. I have discovered some crazy things that I will love to share with you in another show later, because I'm talking that the first time that I'm talking about this is in the conference at Mackinac. It's crazy, like geometrical way, mathematical way to prove this, quantum physics way to prove this. Anyway, so the Lady of the Mountain, YssaH, and Hathor, this is why many people say that the Anunnaki and the Egyptian were the same. But for me, the thing is that there was a transference of not a transference of consciousness, an agreement of an alliance. This is why Lilith went rogue, to say it somehow, because the Lady of the Mountain changed a genetic code that wasn't meant to be changed. And that genetic code involved precisely the apple, precisely the knowledge, precisely, So at that moment, then the fight over the control over the human came through, and saying, no, women are mainly the only way in which a woman is pure is by being untouched. That's the way that it words it. Otherwise it's just a prostitute. So because there was that alliance that led to some factions trying to keep the purity of, to some extent, hybridization, yet or interpreting in an organic way, keeping the seed and star seed's purpose, mission, and the other ones that was, like capping. But the thing is that those ones that wanted to keep it capped was also with another purpose, to create two types of races. Let's say the chosen ones, and the other ones that were going to be, like the other ones. So anyway, it's like a huge topic, but I just wanted to say this, that for me, that was in front of the religion, the first rupture between women and men through patriarchy and matriarchy and patriarchy. Because if you see before, there wasn't that. It was like, even you see with other species, galactic species, whether if they are mean or not, however you want to call it, that they have different purposes, they work through matriarchies. They have a problem? No, they don't have a problem. They work, it's like, or perhaps through triunity, which is neither matriarchy nor patriarchy. It's just, another type of organization. But it's in the humans, like there is this conflict, man and men and women, and for me, it's that, because it was imprinted in the moment that there was a traitor, no, now you will lose it, because you betrayed, so now you will lose it. So now it's that process of restoration of, hey, you don't own this. This is, and actually one of the parts that were saved through this process, this transference of genetic codes, was also the capability of reactivating our DNA from dormant to active. Yeah.
Whew. Wow. Yeah. I was starting to go in another direction, but I was thinking we were probably getting close on time. I was going to add to that, and then I'm like, we're getting close on time. But no, this has been such an amazing deep dive. I feel like we can definitely leave it at that note and put a pin in it and pick it up where we just left it off and go a little bit further. What do you think?
I love the idea. I mean, I could talk for hours with you, but I agree. Let's also keep a little bit for later.
Yeah.
For a few more, Yes, because again, there is so much information. And
so if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You get all our notifications, because what's coming next, you're gonna not want to miss it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm going to make sure that one of the short clips that AI generates is this part that you just said.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
your AI captures all the attitude too.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, those AI clips you've been generating, I watched them a few times, and it's like a meditation, because like our souls become one, and we become, angelic, or we disappear into the primordial waters, or I just love it. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Well, sometimes AI knows truly what to do. It just taps into the field. So
I have to tell you, when you were talking about, just real quick, the reflection of the waters, so the Star Fort, the retreat mission that I'm doing, September 18th through the 22nd.
Yes.
Well, I've been working on the ceremonial aspect of it. And so we're going to have 7 beach locations, all in the Gulf, where we're going to actually anchor the New Earth seal into the beach coast. And I don't know what we're going to how specifically. I've had some really amazing ideas. One of the ideas was to actually get like a wood engraver, and we're going to take the New Earth seal and engrave it into the wood. So that way we actually have like a sand stamper, and we can, put that into the beach, sprinkle it with some rose petals or some rosemary or something to activate it. But, all biodegradable, healthy for the sea life type of thing. But to me, that's just so symbolic. And then really kind of being able to send that message to the waters as an offering, as a blessing, and to do it multiple times, in all those areas along the coast, like really kind of capturing the whole area. Like we will literally have grid the entire, east side of the Pensacola beach all the way over to Perdido Key. So it's pretty incredible, and it's so exciting. And I feel like that's exactly what we're doing, is we're just being innately called and guided, and letting our intuition kind of prompt what we need to do next, and work with source and the universe, and just letting the divine guide this entire ceremony. And you know how you get the next step once you do one thing, and then you get the next step after you do another thing. So I'm excited to see what comes forward with it. But I just know that this is pretty substantial.
Okay, so for the people that don't know very much of what you're talking about, you want to tell them about this beautiful and powerful gathering that you are creating, or that you have created already, because I'm pretty sure that you already are fully booked, right? Or just a few slots?
We still have some spots. Yeah. I mean, it's getting narrowed down, but we still have some spots available. Yeah, but it's definitely starting to fill up a little bit. So it's exciting though. I'm prepared for it to be that way, and there'll be enough for everybody type of thing. But yeah, it's the Lyran Star Fort retreat activation in Pensacola, Perdido Key Beach. We'll be working at the Fort Pickens Star Fort, which is an island. It's a really unique star fort that sits on an island with water on all points around it. And just connecting with that galactic technology. And the Lyrans told me that it was Starfords were their technology, obviously used in Tartaria and other civilizations. Atlantis was a Starfort prototype. But we're going to be, really tuning into that and anchoring the New Earth seals into the Gulf Coast and into the waters, and working with the aquatic guardians, working with the mermaids, working with the Lemurian sea temples, and just connecting with community. And probably a lot of healing will be happening, and a lot of unexpected things I think will be happening, because once you start to get into it and start to work it out, things start to reveal themselves. And I'm just so excited to see, what comes through. But yeah, that will be September 18th through the 22nd. Anybody's invited, just message me, info@IndigoAngel222.com, or you can go to my website at IndigoAngel222.com, and the link is on the homepage. And YssaH has her beautiful event coming up. So we're both a couple of busy ladies right now.
Yeah. I was going to tell you I would be joining you, but I have this the Chaco Canyon sacred tour that I was invited previously, that you created your trip. Otherwise, I would be there with you, because it's definitely going to be super powerful. So, guys, if you are watching this, then you surely want to know more about the details to join Indy. And yeah, I have also the trip to Egypt in November. We are already fully booked. So perhaps if you just feel the calling, just write to me. Sometimes magic happens, and if you're meant to be somewhere, it will absolutely manifest, like a spot opening or whatever, so don't be afraid, and just contact me if you're feeling the deep call. We will also be working with stargates. There is a new technology that has been finally, tapped into. It's not that it didn't exist, but as our consciousness, collective consciousness, is shifting, is now the heart technology. So now the capability of opening stargates through the heart is something that more people is talking about. And this is very much part of the technology that we will be using, because there are stargates in Egypt that can only be opened through the heart. And this is where also like another type of distortion comes. People thinking, oh, okay, here is a heart. No, it wasn't that way. It was just about using your heart technology, amplifying your heart vortex, and using it in a very specific way, energetically, holofractally, that it becomes a key. Transferring codes that are imprinted in your heart, in the pristine space of your heart. So anyway, and it's in November from the 2nd to the 15th. So also Mackinac, disclosure in Mackinac, you're still on time for joining us. It's truly going to be an amazing, amazing, amazing conference. There is going to be even an artifact museum. We will have a sky watch at night. We will be having, like the presence of all these beautiful speakers. I'm very honored to be one of them. What else? Then the sacred tour in Chaco Canyon, then Las Vegas, October. And, you can just look at the description below this video. And of course, upcoming shows with Indy, where we will be exploring more of this topics. And also stay tuned, because I wouldn't be surprised if we would be co-creating something else. Mm-hmm. So if you feel the calling, and being active in this movement that we are bringing up forward regarding to the divine feminine, well, here we are. So anything else that you want to let people know of, Indy, that it's taking place right now?
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this beautiful collaboration with Hydra with me. I feel like there's nobody else I would want to do it with. So I'm just so thankful for you and everyone watching. I love you guys, and have a beautiful everything, and we'll be back.
Yes. Do you have any message that you want to give from Hydra besides the other one that you just
Oh,
Okay.
channel
Okay.
message from Hydra. Sure. Let me just tune in real quick.
Sure.
So the message has been that it's when the world feels so heavy, or when the world feels that there's so much toxicity, when there's so much that it feels like we're up against, that it's okay to return to the waters. It's okay to return to the seas, and commune in a way with the waters in which you can trust in the primordial waters, because this is the Hydra's coming through the primordial waters, and she's saying that to work with her is to work with your most ancient self, and to work to bring yourself back to the waters for purification, for safety, and for cleansing. That this is the system that she designed for us. She designed this for us. So I'm getting that Hydra is she's really calling all of her children back to the waters to purify their blood. I'm getting that this is about trusting the transformation of our blood as well, is what I'm getting. That she says that she can help us with nullification, which is the deepest level of purification with our blood.
Well, go ahead.
And I could tell you what she was showing me earlier. So she was showing me the gold blood ones. She was showing me the rivers of the Amazon, the uncontacted tribes. And I was seeing that this also ties into the rainbow DNA, and that we have to trust the evolution of our DNA, and also the memory records and the consciousness of the blood itself. And that there's something with Hydra that is working to restore our abilities with DNA healing, DNA mastery, and DNA rehabilitation and rectification. For some reason, I'm also getting this like rocking motion, like as if I'm on a boat. And there's something with this, like going back to the womb, going back to the waters, going back to the original ebbs and flows and the mysteries of our life, and to embrace the unknown more, and to learn how to surf the waves, right? Like she's showing me like the rocking of the waves and how those are all different, and each wave is going to bring something different. Each wave is meant to bring something different, and to not fight or to resist that energy as it comes in. That through this is what can nullify and also bring us back to our true point of origin. Yeah, that rocking is really strong though. It feels like the safety of being in the womb, being with the heartbeat of the mother. Yeah, so I'm just breathe. We all can just take a nice deep breath in that and just connect to that. The cord, the mother cord that was never meant to become corrosive or tainted. That is all still there for us, intact and available for us to access. And then as I breathe, I am just feeling her kind of like coil down and wind through the spine and through the Kundalini energy. Yeah, it feels really good. So yeah, she's just grounding us all in right now. Okay, and I'm also hearing the messages that the same feeling that we feel when we float on water is the same freedom of floating in the stars and the cosmos. So when we want to return to the stars, we just return to the waters and we float on the waters. Yeah, It's feeling very nice. Thank you, Mama Hydra.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you, and thank you as well. And I would love to just say that everything that you said, it was beautiful, and that fear is poison that corrupts perception. Perception can be pure as the primordial waters, or perception can be polluted as the water that is given to you and shown as pure water. It looks the same, it's not. When you're ready to embrace your fears, then you will remember they don't exist. Then your perception will be restored to its purity. Because the highest wound that could exist is the fear of becoming the most divine version of yourself, who you already are. The idea of everything that was taken does only reinforce when the wound in your heart does. With the purity of the waters that come through, your hands that accept it and receive it right now, you're capable to purify any perception. Remember that the power resides in the creation, not in the assumption. You can assume whatever you choose to and stay and remain wherever you have been led to. Yet you can create whatever you are based on what you choose, based on what you are able and allow yourself to see now. The purity of the third eye, the purity of all the senses, supra senses, meta senses, are restored through the purity of plasma, the plasma of creation, the power and the essence that resides in your presence. Divine beings of creation, thank you.
As you're saying that, I just seen gold temples resurrect up around both of us, and then we called in the golden water dragon, like the golden serpent water dragon. I just seen her like swim up to like the land's edge, and she was just like listening to us, like we called her in, like she was just wow. I've never seen a swimming golden water dragon before.
Me neither.
Beautiful. So
Yeah,
I think she's gonna keep working with us.
yeah, I do, and I know that we at some point will have to go physically somewhere. So I'm pretty excited to see where that will be.
I had the same feeling earlier, like this morning. Something came in, but yeah, we'll chat about that.
Yeah,
we'll keep everybody on the edge of their seats waiting.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Indy. I love you. I loved. Yeah, like okay, let me run. I love everyone.
We love you. Thank you for watching. And we'll be back.
Yes, we will. Until next time. Thank you. Hunuk.